And this is Frances and Jack Fallon. Jack is my dad's brother, and Frances is the next person that we're going to meet in our family interviews. Beautiful young lady in the armed services during World War II. We'll hear the story of how she and Jack met and the family that they came to have together. This is Frances
Fallon.
Fallon.
My maiden name was Frances Drost, D-R-O-S-T. My father came over to this country from Holland, and you don't find many Drosts in this whole world. You look in the phone book and you can seldom find one. I grew up in Idaho. I went through high school in Idaho, went through nurses training. Shortly after I got out of nurses training, I went into the service, and that's where I met Jack Fallon, who had just graduated from officer training school at Mammy Beach.
I want you to continue talking, but I want to film you and Jack. It's such a beautiful picture. I said, what are you wearing? Which branch of the service were you in?
I was an Army nurse attached to the Air Force.
So was Jack Fallon in the Air Force?
Jack had just graduated from officer training school in Miami, and he was sent to Pocatello, the same as I was. It was a brand new base, and we were just opened it up. I was the very first nurse to arrive on the base. Had to stay in the nurses' quarters all alone that first night or two. Thought I was at the end of the earth. And I went to a dance that they were having to introduce the servicemen to girls that could dance and show them a good time. And Jack didn't know I was in the service. He thought I was one of the girls from town that had come to entertain. So he was dumbfounded to find that I was in the service too. So we didn't get to dating until his roommate got the mumps and ended up in my ward in the hospital. And he came to visit his roommate, and we found each other there. Wedding picture, as I said, we got married secretly.
So that picture is not your wedding picture?
No. I just wonder if that wasn't one of the pictures that Tom took of us when we went to visit his folks, Jack's folks, for the first time.
Aha! That's right. You would have had to have met Grandma and Grandpa.
That's right.
Morris and Roselle.
We finally arranged to get a leave together 5 months after we were married, and went back to Pittsburgh. And Tom took a lot of pictures of us because he was at Drevos and he had all this equipment.
Yes.
And I have a feeling maybe that was one of the pictures he took. I
bet.
can't remember anybody else taking it.
Yes. So tell us how many children you and Jack have had over the years.
Well, we had 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
My husband decided that his parents had 6 children, and I was an only child. And so it would be better for us to live in Idaho, where I wouldn't be leaving my parents behind. Since his parents had 5, they wouldn't miss him if he stayed in Idaho. So we went to Parma, where I had graduated from high school, where my parents lived. And we moved in with them because we couldn't find a place to live. And he became a plumber. And I became pregnant again and I had another daughter. And then plumbing wasn't very good for him because he wasn't sturdy enough to be a plumber. He began to have back problems, and so he became an insurance agent. And we moved to Payette. We stayed there 17 years.
Payette is in what state?
That's in Idaho.
Uh-huh.
And then he became director of training. He was promoted to director of training in Continental Life, and we had to move to Boise. So we lived in Boise the rest of our lives. We had a lovely home with a great big yard, and we both decided that if we ever, one of us were to die, we wouldn't want to live in that home alone. So when we retired, we sold the home and moved to an apartment because he wanted to go south for the winter. And we did go south for the winter 2 years while we owned the home, but it was very unsatisfactory to leave the house empty. So we rented it. And the first couple we rented it to was a wonderful experience. You couldn't tell that they had lived there. And they lived there from November till April when we came back. The next year we rented it to another group, and it was just the opposite. They just spoiled our home. And she was a nurse. I trusted her because she was a nurse, but her mother watched the children. Her mother had Alzheimer's disease. And the boys just did what they felt like.
And how long ago was this, that before Jack became ill?
Before he became ill?
Yes. Did that contribute to his...
He was fine when he retired.
Uh-huh.
And he retired at 65. I was 63. We have the same birthday. And...
Is that May 1st?
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
And Tom is the 2nd of May also.
So what year were you born?
1920.
So Jack was born in 1918.
And he was born in 1960.
Tom was, yes. Is Tom the oldest then of the six?
Yeah.
So there's Tom and then Jack.
Yes. Then Eileen and Mary and Jim.
And Pat.
We enjoyed being retired.
Yes.
Jack always thought that if he ever could do it, he'd like to play golf every day of his life, but he soon found that it wasn't nearly as much fun to play when he could do it every day.
Yeah.
But we did go south for the winter every year until I became really sick of it. We were gone for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for Easter, for my daughter's birthdays, and family was too important to me to be gone all those holidays, that they should have been included. So I got tired of it.
Yes.
And by this time, Jack was getting to the place where he couldn't walk very well anymore. He had to quit going south of the winter.
Had he had a stroke by then?
No, he never had a stroke, but he had a problem called neuropathy, which is the failure of the muscle to get the message from the nerve. And he gradually lost the ability to walk, and his grip, it affected all of his muscles finally. But it took about 12 years.
I see.
And
when did he pass away?
he passed away in 1990.
And we're here, that's Anita and Francis. Let's finish our interview with Francis. Hi, Frances.
Hi.
Good morning. Sorry we got interrupted last night by a phone call. You were, I think, telling me about your two beautiful, darling girls.
We were lucky enough to have 2 children. We wanted more, but we just didn't have any, so we...
I'm sorry, you lived in the same town your daughters live in?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
They live in the same town we do, and we have had the association of their children and now our great-grandchildren, of whom we have 6, and we can see them every week if we would like to, instead of being miles and miles away, and see them once or twice a year. So.
All right. All right, now we're talking with my cousin, Anita Knudsen. Anita, who are your parents?
My parents were Jack and Frances Fallon, and my mother Frances is still living. My father Jack has died a couple years ago. I live in Boise, Idaho, along with the rest of my family. My sister lives there, and also my mother, and also my 2 children. I have 2 tall, dark, and handsome boys, Todd and Michael. Mike is 22 and Todd is 26. Todd is married, and his wife's name is Zina. His last name is Branch, and he has 2 beautiful little girls named Shalay and Heidi Branch in Boise, Idaho.
Great. And tell us your sister's name.
My sister's name is, legally, it's Judy, but she's changed it to Nuralima. Her last name is Boydston.
Good.
She's married to Barry Boydston.
Now, how is it that all of you, and your 2 beautiful children included, stayed in Boise?
I don't know, just lucky.
Is it that beautiful of a place?
It's a nice place.
What do you do there?
I'm a nurse. I work in a doctor's office. And
You are a medical nurse?
I'm an LPN,
And what is LPN?
licensed practical nurse.
And so you work in a doctor's office.
Okay.
What do you do as an LPN?
I work in for an OBGYN doctor.
Oh, OBGYN. Well, that's very special.
Was it a
It's my
girl?
specialty.
Excuse me.
Aloha, this is Jack Lawfer. I want to thank you for watching this interview with my Aunt Frances Fallon, filmed by my cousin Ann Fallon in 1997. What follows next is about 5 minutes of photographs of Frances and Jack Fallon that I just could not fit into the video itself. And I hope you'll enjoy it. I've selected some songs by my mother, Pat Lawford, to accompany the film. So thank you very much for watching. Aloha. Bye.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was caught in the draft. He's in the army now, blowing reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he couldn't jam. The captain seemed to understand. But then the next day the cap went out and drafted the band. And now the company jumped when he plays reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a tootly out, a toot. He blows the mate to the bar in boogie rhythm. He can't blow a note unless the basic guitar is playing with him. He really breaks it up when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. He puts the boys to sleep with boogie every night and wakes them up the same way in the early fright. They clap their hands and stomp their feet because they know how he plays when someone gives him a beat. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a tootly out a toot. He blows the mate to the bar in boogie rhythm. He can't blow a note unless the basic guitar is playing with him. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. The boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B.
Mother and Dad loved Irish songs, and this was one of their favorites. Should I want to go back to that tumble-down shack where the wild roses bloom round the door, just to pillow my head on an old trundle bed, just to see my dear mother once more. There's a bright gleaming light guiding me home tonight, down the long road of white cobblestone, down the road that leads back to that tumble-down shack, to that tumble-down shack in Athlone.
Now is the little girl a bride? Under the canopy I see them side by side. Place the gold ring around her finger, share the sweet wine and break the glass. Soon the full circle will have come to pass. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears. The shadow of your smile when you are gone will color all my dreams and light the dawn. Look into my eyes, my love, and see all the lovely things you are to me. Our wistful little star was far too high. A teardrop kissed your lips, and so did I. Now when I remember spring and all the joys that love can bring, I will be remembering the shadow